Dr. Jazz.
Thanks for taking the time, and I really appreciate it. You know, I've talked to many guys of the British scene now, so I'm really, you know, Stan Saltzman and Mark Lockhart, many saxophone players, Julian Arguelles, and Barry Guy, and you know, so you're part of the creative scene, have been like for, you know, 50 years or more, actually, even. So
yeah, it feels like it.
Yeah. But you know, you've been so extremely active. You know, I have you on so many albums, and then I thought I have a lot, right? And then I checked what you've done, and I'm like, well, I'm not even close to a lot. So, and you know,
well, it's just the way it happened. You know, I didn't plan. It just happened. I got lots of opportunities to record, and I'm glad I did. I know that there's so many. There's over 200.
Oh wow, man!
Yeah, so
that's beautiful, actually. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's documented not only myself but many other musicians as well. So it's not just a selfish, just me.
No.
It's the guys I'm playing with.
Absolutely.
Get recorded as well. But I've really enjoyed it, I have to say, and I haven't finished yet. Oh, yeah. Is that a cat?
Yeah.
Okay, I just saw a towel. Wow.
Yeah, he wants attention. Like I do these talks, and then he's always like, "Okay, I'm here as well," and it's like,
"Okay, hello, cat."
He's the jazz cat. No, but I think it's a good thing documenting, because, like you said, yeah, there's so many musicians you play with, which are, you know, incredible, and it's nice to hear you interact and play with them, and just to have them on records as well. So that's a beautiful thing, I think.
Yeah, so it helps everyone, you know.
Yeah, and you've done this a lot of this through your label, right? Duns.
Well, that started it, really.
Okay.
Because, well, what happened was I did a solo bagpipe thing. Now that is not that popular. No record company would touch it, you know, sure. Which I understand.
Sure.
But somebody said, well, why don't you do it on a CDR and just sell it on gigs? And I thought, what a good idea. And that started it. And so I did this one solo bagpipe record. And then my friend Phil Gibbs, I just started playing with him again, guitarist. And he said, look, you know, if you want a partner in this, you know, in your label to help, I'm down for it.
Oh, okay.
So what happened was it really took off, and it was a way of getting music that I've recorded years ago re-released, if you like, or released gigs, live gigs. But also I went to the studio with Phil, and Phil fortunately funded paying for the studios and the musicians, which was fantastic. So there was a tsunami of creativity. We were recording every month with different guys, with classical guys, with folk guys, with, you know, Indian percussionists, Bala, and many things. And it really kicked off this recording business. And that lasted, I forget how many years my CDR label went on for, but then FMR, Trevor Taylor's label, said, if you've got anything you want to release. Now, they were proper printed CDs. Mine was CDR copies. And I thought, well, it's better to have a CD, a proper printed CD.
Yeah.
So I went with that, and that was the end of Duns. But the albums kept coming, you know, and I kept recording because I kept hearing things I wanted to do, or meeting musicians. I went, oh man, let's do something.
Yeah.
And it's been astonishing, really, actually. I'm slowed down a little bit, you know. Yeah, a little bit, you know.
No, but I think that's really important and cool, you know, because, like, let's say in the States you have like Ken Vandermark, who's kind of similar, you know, he's records a lot. Mads Gustafsson, you know,
Yes.
a lot of players in the improvisation free scene, let's call it whatever, creative scene. I hate these terms, but just to categorize it somehow, you know, are doing what you are doing, and this is really, really cool to see, because labels, you know, they can release maybe one album per year.
Yes.
Maybe, you know, so now and the times have changed, because basically, you know, what is a label nowadays? Even also, you know, it's especially in our music that we do. Let's say this.
Yeah.
Well,
the thing is, if we haven't recorded this stuff, if you just decide you're going to make your superb album, and you wait 10 years to make your one album, and you've done it, and then you're maybe not so happy with it, you know. If you put lots of stuff out, it's there for history, and I can, you know, think, well, I can go back and listen to stuff that I did 20 years ago. Whereas if I never recorded it, I've forgotten. I have no idea. It's disappeared.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, not that it matters, but I suppose I like to know what I've done with my life, you know, and, you know, and I'd like to hear, may not be the greatest music I've played. Everybody's, you know, we all want to be better, but at least I have something to listen to. I mean, I know friends, really great players who have just made one or two records.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think it's a shame. These days, the technology is there for you to at least record all your gigs or some gigs or something.
Yeah.
I think it's important, actually.
Me too.
You know, without recordings, I personally would have never heard Charlie Parker, John Coltrane.
Yeah.
Thelonious Monk. I would have never heard a note they played.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
thank God they were recorded, you know.
Yeah. So, you mentioned Parker. Like, were these guys the first guys that got you excited? Like, let's say late '60s for improvised music or jazz? Like,
yeah, the first. You know, I mean, I started with the soul music, you know, King Curtis, and
really?
But then I heard, I was playing in a soul band, and King Curtis. That was the guy, Junior Walker. I loved all this, and then I heard Charlie Parker, and my jaw hit the ground, and I thought, he's from another planet. What is this? It was just so out of it. I couldn't understand any of it. But I started to listen to that Parker a lot of his records, and then someone played me Coltrane. Yeah. And the very first time I heard Coltrane, I just thought it was rubbish. It's meditation. I couldn't hear it. It just sounded like a noise. What is that? And then just a few weeks later, I heard Afro Blue live, and I went, wow. Yeah. And from that point on, I was hooked. And then Albert Ayler, you know, the whole, I just, my whole brains went on that, you know, and listening. I listen to about 3 CDs a night.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
All the time. I listened, and I love it. And, you know, and...
how did you learn that language? I mean, how did you study those guys? Like, let's say Coltrane and Ayler. Did you like transcribe, or just by listening to kind of get the ideas?
Funny you should ask that. Because I thought about this the other day. You know, I never once ever transcribed anything from the record.
Interesting.
I think I learned Lonnie's Lament from a record.
Okay. Okay.
That was all. And I thought, how did I go about it? And I just went on instinct. I'm not saying that my ear's that great either. I just found my own voice somehow by accident.
Mm.
No, I think it would have been much better if I did transcribe. I think I would have understood more, you know. I might have been better. But the good thing is, I did find my own voice. And I remember Ray Worley, the saxophone player, who's a great, great alto player. And he said to me, I don't recognise any of your licks. I said, well, I don't know either. We played the blues, and I just played how I normally play. And he said, I I don't know any of your licks. Where have you come from? Where does it come from? So I don't know. It's just, so maybe in one way it was a good thing not to transcribe, and which is what everybody's supposed to do. We're supposed to learn.
Yeah.
And I never did, and I'm not recommending it to anybody else. It's the way it happened for me. So good question.
No, but it's a language, like it's how you learn the language, but that you listen to the language or read it, right? So I think that's a good way to listening to music. That's how you if you listen to Coltrane, let's say 20 days in a row, I think you're subconsciously are gonna.
It goes in, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and then when you play it back, it sounds similar. It sounds like in the same area. So you are learning the language.
Yeah.
I got into the free thing and then came back to changes, and learned and started playing giant steps and all these things. To get
really? I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
The free thing was the one, I was into Jimi Hendrix. And I wanted to
really? Really?
Let's get that power. I mean, Voodoo Child, I thought was the end of jazz. I thought, that was, how are you going to play jazz when you got that? Man, come on. So I want that, but then after that, I got a bit more a little bit more sophisticated, and thought, no, man, I want to know what's going on with the real language, playing standards, playing chord changes. So I was doing jazz gigs, but also playing free simultaneously. And in the end, I decided I didn't want to. I mean, I wasn't brilliant at playing standards, but I could do it, and whatever. But my whole focus became improvised music. The way I played the saxophone, and several people have mentioned it, it's like I'm playing a bunch of chord changes that aren't there.
Yeah.
I feel about it anyway.
Yeah, that's like Ornette and Dewey Redman and all these cats, that go free. It's basically they're creating changes on the spot. So yeah.
Ornette, oh my God, Ornette! I've just rediscovered him more and more, and boy, he's a genius.
When I was 19 and 20, that those Complete Atlantic recordings.
Yes.
I transcribed every solo of Ornette there. I still have it, by hand. I was obsessed, really. I love that stuff. Really.
That is difficult to transcribe all that, because his lines are really tricky.
But so melodic. It's incredible. Yeah.
He is incredible. And when you think he's not too far after Parker, or maybe almost.
Yeah.
I don't know about the dates, but it can't be very off. When Charlie Parker was playing, Ornette must have been discovering his thing very, very close to the same at the same time.
Yeah.
He's amazing. Absolutely. His lines of just magic. Blues playing and everything is,
Well, and Billy Higgins then, and Charlie Hayden as a rhythm section, then you're like, and Don Cherry, okay, of course, also, but it's...
Well, they play their heads together, Don Cherry and Ornette.
Yeah.
Those heads are very difficult, some of them.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Like one instrument. They must have worked hard at that.
Yeah,
but
really.
Boy, that is very, very special, and I've enjoyed it more and more recently, actually.
Oh, well, interesting. Yeah, but did you? So we're talking about Ornette and Coltrane and all these guys, and I've read that you went then, in early '70s, to the United States, right?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
How was that experience, jazz-wise, for you? Because I know, okay, in the UK, let's say late '60s. Kenny Wheeler did the Windmill Tilter, and Barry Guy, all these guys were slowly coming out. John Sermon, Alan Skidmore, and But when you went to the States, how was your first impression of the improvised scene there? What was your first impression?
My first impression was that I was more into the straight jazz scene. Funny enough. I mean, I was going to see gigs of, I saw Mingus, I saw Elvin Jones.
Oh, really?
Saw Joseph Lateef, and I used to go to the concerts. I was in California most of the time, and there was concerts by the sea and the Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse, yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, the Lighthouse. I saw Elvin Jones there. I saw many bands there. Roland. I mean, I just saw low. I just was soaking it all up, and I was I considered myself a student of the music at that point. My playing wasn't up to. I was nowhere near. I was practicing, like studying books, and I was doing, doing all the hard graft, but I wasn't ready to play in that area of music whatsoever. So I was a young man. I was 21 or something. So 21. So I was woodshedding, getting my shit together, and listening to the greats. Dexter, oh my God, and all those guys, I can't think now, but all those top guys. And it was only when I came back to the UK after being in America for 3 years, and when I heard the European guys or the South African guys, they were playing different, and that blew me away. I thought, this is not what I'm used to. They're playing jazz, but no jazz I've heard like this before. And it was freer. I was very attracted to it. And then I started actually meeting those guys. And, and I was getting me playing together by then. And, they sort of invited me to come and play with them. And so all of a sudden I started becoming part of that scene slowly, and like Barry Guy and all these guys, and Skidmore and Alan Skidmore, Evan, and all those guys, and I really took to that music, but so my time in the States was very interesting, actually.
But did you do like jazz? Because I heard there was a connection with Alice Coltrane somehow also, or
no? Well, what that was, I was in a thing called Divine Light Mission, which is like a meditation team. So I was living in an ashram, if you like.
Oh, wow.
It was a dodgy ashram, probably. It wasn't quite, but it was an ashram. We were doing. It was all musicians, so you can imagine we're all a music ashram. And then someone knew Alice Coltrane, and she came out and she heard the band. We were rehearsing on Hollywood Boulevard. Can you believe that?
Wow!
And she came where all the stars are. All those. We used to walk down that to go and rehearse, and in this building. I have no idea how we ended up there, but anyway, Alice Coltrane came to that. And she loved what she heard. She loved the band. She loved the brass and the saxophones and all that. And she said, I want to use the band, I want to use it. Yeah, that's what I thought. Oh, well, fantastic, And she did. And then we moved from Hollywood Boulevard to Malibu, right on the Pacific Coast Highway, overlooking the ocean. And we had a big rehearsal space. And she used to come out with her written music, and we'd play all her music. Man, I was in seventh heaven. This is Alice Coltrane, and this is 1972. So it wasn't so long. That John was around in '67, and so it kind of felt, I was buzzing with that. And we played all the music, and but I again, this was just I played a free solo. She asked me to play a solo, and I played a free solo. But I was just I just lost it. I was just like, wow, and I'm just going to play as hard and as fast and as loud as I can. And bless Alice, she said, when I'd finished, when Coltrane and Pharaoh plays in that manner, they were calm inside. They were not losing the plot like I did. But that was wonderful. That was a wonderful lesson. She was a great lady, actually. She was a very gentle, lovely person, actually. And that's one of the spots in my musical career I shall never forget. Wonderful.
But you never then thought when you were in the States, like going to New York and try to investigate the scene there, or?
No. Well, what actually happened? Because I was in an ashram, I wasn't going out gigging. You know, we were living a spiritual lifestyle. But playing music. But then that broke down. That life broke down, and so I had to. The real world appeared, and I had to earn a living. You know.
Sure.
And so that was like playing music in America, you know, and I ended up with a Mexican. It wasn't Mexican actually; it was El Salvador. They were all musicians from South America playing every weekend. I was going out playing Mambo 8 and all this Mexican stuff, or South American.
Yeah, kind of Latin,
Latin-based stuff. I was doing that. And at that time, my partner, my friend, we were sharing an apartment, and he was a trombone player, and he got a gig with Johnny Guitar Watson.
Okay, that's how that happened. Okay.
Yeah, so he said, Johnny wants a saxophone player. Do you want to do it? 4 nights in San Francisco. And I said, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. And so I ended up meeting Johnny Guitar Watson. And then next thing I know, he liked what I did. And he was making an album. We made Ain't That a Bitch, which was a gold album, which is unbelievable. And he said, right, we're going on the road. Do you want to go on the road? Sure, I'll learn a living playing. Listening to him play the blues, man, I tell you.
Yeah,
he was fantastic, and also a brilliant jazz pianist. Really? So sometimes he'd sit at the piano and start playing round midnight and all the standards. And boy, he played the shit out of it, you know.
Oh, wow.
He was amazing. But he said, if you're going to be a musician and earn a living, make all your music for young women. Which is not my idea, which is not where I was coming from. I wanted to be, you know, really say something in music.
Yeah.
He wanted to earn a living, and he wanted to make a lot of money, which he did. And he wanted to be an entertainer, which he was. He was brilliant. But anyway, so I had a year on the road, playing all over America, you know, playing his music. And so I never got a chance to sort of check out the jazz scene. Yeah. It's only when I went back to America 20 odd years ago that I started playing like jazz-based music. I didn't play like that when I was living there. It was and a great education to go on the road for a year with John.
Oh, sure. Oh, man. Yeah, I can believe that. I mean, I can only imagine.
It was fantastic. And then I was told to leave America because my business shit was completely wrong. You know, I was kicked out. So I left. And then that's what I'm saying. That's when I heard the European stuff. And
how was this connect? You know, you mentioned all these guys, you know, like Evan Parker and John Sermon, Elton Dean, Lol Coxhill, you know, Alan Skidmore, Mike Osborne. It's like, probably I'm leaving someone out, like Trevor Watts, Tony Coe. Well, anyway, like an incredible improvised saxophone community somehow seems to have formed. But how was the connection between you guys as saxophone players? Like, did you like check each other out, or like, was this actually like a scene? I mean, where you were in the UK, or?
Well, I mean, when I first went there, I was like respectful. Well, I still am respectful, but you know, Alan Skidmore and Evan, and John Sermon was more in Europe. He wasn't so much in the UK. He was kind of. But Alan Skidmore and Evan, I got to become very good friends with them. But, you know, I was respectful in listening to what they were doing, checking them out. And I ended up playing a lot with Evan Parker, and I ended up in a quartet with Alan Skidmore, you know. And Trevor Watts I knew very well. And Trevor was fantastic for telling me of the history of the British scene, how it all unfolded with John Stevens and Paul Rutherford. So he'd give me the whole lowdown from his point of view. And Trevor was a great player. And so there was people like Larry Stabbins, I'm just trying to think. I mean, Simon Picard. I can't remember them all, but yeah, we were all checking each other out and trying to learn from each other and outdo each other and get more gigs than the other.
No, but
It's competitive, and yet we were all in it together. It was a good scene. That's gone to me. I mean, it's going to be different. The young guys now, they have a different scene, and there's some great players around. But I've kind of backpedaled a bit. I'm not in the scene as much as, well, it's different.
No, it's completely different, because I think your generation, and maybe it's older or a little bit younger, I mean, like, you know, around your age, let's say 5 plus minus, you've created this incredible improvised scene, which I think it was quite unique to the UK. Like, you know, all of you guys with immense output of music, you know, Evan and you and you know, all these guys I mentioned. I think that was quite unique in a way, like, you know.
Yes, I think it was a very powerful force. And what was interesting, there was no jazz colleges. There was no, you know, you learned by playing with these guys, and you learned on stage. There was lots of gigs. We were playing all the time. I lived outside of London, like I say, in the countryside, but I used to drive to London twice a week. And I said to the guys, don't worry about the money. I was teaching, I'll pay for my thing. Let's play. And they knew that, and they liked my playing. The guys liked my playing, so they'd invite me, and I would be playing all the time with these guys. And it was an amazing scene. It was a really vibrant, energetic scene, you know, which there was, you could earn a living, you know, you could actually, these days, it seems most of the gigs are door money. I mean, a door money gig was a weird thing back then. Were you doing a door money gig? Yeah, all right, you know, you must be desperate, but all right, fair enough. But you would do it, you know, because you want to play or whatever.
For the music,
But a door money gig was I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't do that too often. And now they're like almost all door money gigs, whatever there is, you know. I mean,
amazing.
But, no, it was a great scene, and I was pleased to be part of that and add my contribution to that. You know?
Well, when did you start the kind of? I mean, I know you did that Soliloquy record, the solo record in the 80s, right?
Yes, in the 80s, yes.
This is when you kind of started also doing stuff as a band leader, or like more, or like taking as a band leading stuff. That's when you started more doing that, or? I mean, that's a solo record, but...
Yeah, I was never really a band leader. I never liked that. But it was around that time that I started to feel that I had something to say that was worth recording. So we're talking about the 80s.
Yeah, 86 or 85.
Yeah. But in actual fact, before that, to get a record out was really difficult. I mean, I was on some LPs with a band called Spirit Level, and we did 3 albums, I think. But it was, you know, to get an album out was hard. And so by the middle 80s I was ready to branch out musically, and I thought I had something to say, and I recorded that, and Eddie Prevost, Matchless, said he would put it out, which was like, wow, fantastic. And he said, I'll put it on CD. Wow, a CD. Wow, that's incredible. Thought it'd be an LP, you know. But since that time, it's been much easier for musicians to actually get their music recorded, which I think is great. Because everybody now has the opportunity to put a CD out or release their music, so that you know, whoever is interested can find your music. That wasn't the case in the 80s. It was hard, man. It was hard to get your music released. It was an event. If you had an LP, man, that was like, wow, you know. So things have really changed. But that Soliloquy was when I started to find just my own personal thing, you know, and it started from there. And
what was that record? What was that record important for you? Because, like, in a sense, also that it kind of. I mean, of course, you were working with all these musicians we mentioned, but like at least because I think after that record, you started working with the London Jazz Composers Orchestra and with the band with Keith Tippett and Paul Rogers, the quartet, and
it all sort of happened at a particular time, the middle to late 80s. Now, I've been doing quite a lot of work before then, but in the middle 80s and towards the end there, it was like one of those weird things when the phone, things happen. In fact, I went to a summer school that Tony Oxley was running. And I said to Tony, I knew Tony, I said, can I just go down there and hang out? I don't want to be a student, I don't want to pay, but I just want to hang out. Yeah, come down. I went down there and I started playing. And that's where I knew Skidmore before, Alan, but he said, wow, man, yeah, you're a jazz musician. I said, oh, thanks, Skid, great. Keith Tippett came up to me and said, here's my number, give me a phone call. Barry Guy said, can you give me your phone number?
Oh, wow.
That was just over one weekend. And it all kicked off from that point on. And then I think 6 months, a year later, Danny Thompson, the bass player, contacted me. Would I want to join his folk jazz band? And I said, I think, why not? Because Danny's a great player and a great guy. And so all of a sudden, I was working all over the place. The quartet with Keith Tippett was musician, was a very special band. The London, working with Barry Guy, I loved it. The London Jazz Composers Orchestra, that was amazing. And we did tons of work. I don't know how he managed to fund that, but we did lots of work.
Yeah.
And I loved all that. I was in my 30s. I was 30, I don't know.
Yeah.
Late or middle, I don't know how old I was, but I was in my 30s. And
incredible.
All formative stuff. I learned so much. What's that? Oh, something's just gone. Anyway, and one thing I'll never forget, which I learned and made, because I did a bit of composing over the years, but one thing I learned from Barry Guy, which was an amazing lesson. He wrote all his parts out by hand. He didn't have computers back then, but he wrote all his, and it was beautifully handwritten music. And he wrote it for the whole orchestra, so it's like 17, 18 parts. And we started playing this, and there was this whole page, A to D, all beautiful, all this stuff. And we rehearsed it a bit, and he said, no, get a pencil and put a line through the whole lot. A to D, just go shh. And we all just went, what? He's just all that work. And he's just said, no, get rid of it.
Oh.
And that has been an absolutely phenomenal lesson for me, because I do that with my stuff. It's never so intricate as with Barry, but if I don't like something, let's not do it.
Yeah, sure.
Get rid of it. And that it's don't get precious about it. Oh, I've written this, so it's got to happen. If you don't like it, get rid of it immediately.
Yeah.
And so things like that I learned, from people like Barry. And I like Barry a lot as a person. He was a great guy.
Yeah, he's an amazing musician and person.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about the quartet with Keith Tippett, because that was one of those bands that you actually you always improvised, of course, completely without any talk, and it was free improvised music. And especially your connection with Paul Rogers. How did that happen? I mean, I know you guys did a lot of duo recordings also and concerts with Paul. How was that band formed, actually, that group?
Well, I met Paul in the early 80s, very early, 80, 81, something like that. And he came to Bristol, because I was living at Bristol at that time, with the drummer Nigel Morris that I used to work with. And he introduced me to Paul, and hello, and he played fantastic.
Yeah.
And he said, I've got some gigs, at the 100 Club in London. Do you want to do them? So I said, yeah. So I just connected with Paul there, and we were doing things in London and what have you. And we really connected musically, and also we had the same view about, he liked folk music a lot. And I said, yeah, man, I'm into that. He said, well, and we talked, should we do some let's do some folk-based improvising. I said, yeah, let's write some music. Let's do it. And so there was I did a lot of playing with Paul, but winding back to like 1980, I met Tony Levin, the drummer.
Yeah.
And I used to go to his house every couple of weeks because he didn't live far from me. And we used to play duets till 3 o'clock in the morning. We'd have a smoke and have a play, and it was fantastic. So I built up a huge, and we used to do jazz gigs.
Yeah, oh, wow.
But then he heard me playing free. He said, man, what, you want to play like that? I said, yeah, let's yeah. He said, so, me too, let's play more open music.
Oh.
So I had a relationship with Tony, had a relationship with Paul, and in fact, I also had a relationship with Keith because we did a few gigs up north. I mean, this is earlier. This is 81, I think.
Oh,
Keith, I think, gig. And then I don't know how it happened, but I remember I think we were teaching, me and Keith, somewhere, and he said, that would be a great quartet, wouldn't it, with Rodgers and Levin? I said, man.
Oh, man, yeah.
But Paul was in America. He was living in America. I said, but yeah, that would be a great quartet. And then Paul Rodgers contacted me. He said, I'm coming back to the UK. Can you get some gigs? I said, yeah. And I know the very group that we should do it with and all, with Tony Levin, Keith Tippett. And we did. So I got a couple of gigs together. In actual fact, it was called the Paul Dunmall, Keith Tippett Quartet. And it was so fantastic. Yeah, it was so fantastic. And we decided this group is very, very special. Yeah. But you can't call it Paul Dunmall, Keith. It was ridiculous. So Keith said, how about this name that I've been using, musician? And we all said, yeah, it's great. Let's do that. So that's how the band was formed in about 87, I think.
Yeah.
Can't remember. And we played for 22 years until Tony Levin died.
It's incredible.
And man, that's some of the best musical experiences in my life, that group. That's got better and better in my opinion. I mean, I know, I don't want to say, blow my own trumpet and say, oh, I think this is one of the great groups of all time.
No, but yeah.
I think it was, personally. I know I'm in it, but I do think Paul Rodgers on bass.
Yeah.
Tony Levin on drums, Keith Tippett on piano. Oh, yeah. And playing free music. We never talked about the music. We always went on stage and just improvised. We never, ever said, should we do this or should we do that? And people couldn't believe it. Some people said, well, how much of that is rehearsed? I said, none of it. And Elton Dean was a big fan. He said, man, that is the best band since Elton was flipped. He said that it's for me. He said the most impact. He said since Coltrane's Quartet. He said that band is something really, really special, and we all felt that too. I mean, what was interesting, I think, is that we got into the very free, weird shit, really out, to going at the time swinging with Lev, who was a superb,
monster drummer,
monster drummer, and we could go there. And it went there of its own accord. I mean, I think that was a very special band, Yeah,
I agree. I mean, it's like, I love all of you guys in that quartet, each of you was such a strong individual also, already. And then somehow it worked. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, for 22 years, how many bands last 22 years?
Yeah, especially, in, let's say, this genre of music, or it's very hard. Also, people are busy, and it's incredible. But
I suppose people like Evan and Slip and Back.
Yeah,
One a group that's lasted for years and years and years. Yeah. So there's probably other. There
are some. Yeah.
There are some. Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you that, when you kind of go on stage and freely improvise, also with these guys, with the quartet or with whatever lineup, how do you I don't know. I sometimes face this. I love hearing from you guys, you know, the masters of your art. Like, how do you deal with factor of, I don't know if you face this, a factor of feeling non-creative or not knowing where to go, or how do you deal with these things if you do, like if you have these problems sometimes, what to play or how to deal with that?
Well, as you know, music's a very subtle, can be a very subtle and amazing thing, and you have to be connected with it, but you're not always, sometimes you're not. What you do is if you're playing with people like Keith Tippett, Paul Rodgers and Tony Levin, and say I'm playing, and all of a sudden I've got nothing to say,
yeah,
or I maybe have played something that have pushed the band somewhere that it don't feel quite right, someone in that band will rectify that within a second or two. And because everybody's so sensitive, they realise this is not gone to where this is something that's not really going to go anywhere. Someone will immediately take it somewhere else. And that is why when you play with really great players, those issues of non-creativity or finding nothing to say are resolved incredibly quickly. But when you play with players who are not, maybe they do a bit of free improvisation or you know, whatever, or they're not listening so much, it becomes incredibly hard work. I mean, when you play a standard, a blues in B flat, bang, 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 you've got so much to fall back on. So if someone's not being creative, you've got the form, you're okay, it's going to work. But when there's nothing there, when you are improvising, you are in trouble, because if people are not happening, the music is awful. Yeah. And I've been plenty of times when I've struggled, and sometimes I've tried to push it someone to help it out of a hole, and it ain't happening. And you've got to just surrender and go, okay, this isn't happening. But then what happens? You normally, you don't usually play with those guys so often.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So always look for the best players. You know, if I was playing a standard gig, they'd go, they'd sooner have Stan Saltzman than me. They go, you know, he's all right, but you know, he ain't. You know, he's. When I play standards, I'm in my head. You know, I'm Stan. Someone like Stan or Tony Coe, they don't think about it, completely free. Yeah. Julian Siegel. Julian Siegel. What a great tenor player. Yeah. And I've been talking to him about chord changes, and you know, when I play him, I think about him. He said, I just play free, because that's, you know, and yet it's just natural to him. Well, for me, it would be not so natural, but playing improvised music just comes freely to me. And people, I mean, Dick Morrissey, the tenor player, said to Tony Levin, "What is Dunmall doing when he's playing free?" And he said, "Well, he's just doing what you do, but without the tune. He's just playing lines that are coming to him, and as you would over a blues in B flat, you don't think of it. You just, you know, it's not even something you do. And because I have been very attractive to the free improvisation. I play with players like that, and I feel most comfortable like that.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, it's like playing basketball, or you know, if you have Messi in your team, you know, you know it's gonna be okay. Or you know what I mean, in basketball, if you had, you know, Magic Johnson, it's gonna be okay. Or something. You know, that's, you know, it's a team sport. You know, that's
And you know, if you've got good guys like that, you're in safe hands. Yeah. If there's going to be a goal scored, they will do it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. But speaking of good players, I haven't heard yet. I couldn't find it. I saw you did a record with Joe Morris, Matt Shipp, and Gerald Cleaver.
Oh yes. Yeah.
And how did, you know? I played only from those four guys with Gerald. We did like 2 records together, and he's one of my favorite drummers ever around there. But how did that connection happen? I mean, I know you did stuff with Matt Shipp already before, But how did you connect with those guys?
I know Joe. I was invited to come and play at the Vision Festival in New York.
Okay.
And I met Joe before, and I know Matt before. And Joe was saying he'd like to do something. You know, if we ever get the chance, let's play something. And he said, I want to play bass with you. And I said, okay, you know. And then we got the invite. I got the invite to go to the Vision Festival. And my friend Bernard Lyons, who helps organise gigs and all that, he said, I can sort that out. He said, how about Gerald Cleaver? And I said, yeah, man. So he organised it with the Vision Festival.
Okay.
And so I came over. And so that was the very first time the four of us have played together.
Wow.
We walked on stage, bang.
Yeah.
And that was fantastic. And funny enough, that was 2012. And next year, that same quartet is going to play in the UK at Cheltenham Jazz Festival. So it's going to be 10 years later.
Wow, that's incredible. Man.
It's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to it, man, because I know it'll be great.
Are you going to do some gigs in Europe also, like on the continent, or?
No, well, I won't. I don't travel anymore.
Oh, okay.
A few years ago, I decided my traveling days are over. I've been traveling since I'm 68. I've been traveling since I've been 15, man.
Yeah, well, one day it's enough. Yeah.
And aeroplanes and trains are always getting delayed, cancelled, and I just used to find the whole thing completely stressful, especially when they'd fly me to a different airport and I'd have to get trains. Oh God, I thought I've finished, man. I don't want to do this no more. Flying to America, I remember the last time I flew, I was sitting on the plane, two old dears like this, and someone put their seat back, and I thought, I've got 8 hours.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
I ain't doing it no more. I can't do this no more. And so it's been okay. I play in the UK. I don't play as much as I used to, but it's been good. I've really enjoyed the non-traveling. Okay, I'm missing things, but you know, I've done what I've done, and I still play in the UK. And the guys come to the UK now, so those guys are coming here, which is fantastic.
Oh, that's incredible.
I mean, so they may do something. We're going to record. We're going to do the Cheltenham Festival. We're going to a studio.
Oh wow!
Record.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And whether those guys will just go back to the States or whether they go on to Europe, I don't know. But I mean, I even find going to London, I can't do the drive. I mean, I'm 3-hour drive from London.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
I used to drive 3 hours to London, or it sometimes take 4 hours with the traffic. I'd do a gig. I'd leave London at midnight.
Oh man, that's
3 hours to drive back. 7 hours driving plus a gig, and I walk in here, you know, at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Go, wow. And years and years and years and years of that, I said no more. If I do a gig in London, someone's got to drive me.
Sure.
And that's happened for a few years. And then COVID came. I haven't played in London for over 2 years, 3 years now.
Yeah.
But
especially no, it's all good. Yeah. But
it's all good.
Yeah. You know, it's if we're happy, if you're happy, then that's important. You know, you seem to be really creative still. You know, doing so much stuff. So that's beautiful.
It's still happening.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's amazing.
I'm still getting the thing. I'm still trying to improve my playing. You see, didn't do any gigs for about 18 months, but I played every day, and boy, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I was just playing for myself, because when you do a gig, you've got to, you know, people want blood. You know, you've got to perform.
Exactly.
When I'm in my room, I'm playing for myself, and I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Of course, you don't get it's a different thing, isn't it? Playing at home.
Different energy. Yeah, sure.
Different energy, because when you do a gig, the intensity level goes up tenfold, and all of a sudden, all the shit you've been playing at home is gone out the window, and now you better get on with it.
Yeah.
So, of course, going back and doing gigs is like, oh blimey, I've forgotten, you know, this.
Yeah.
Wow. But so I'm doing both now. I'm doing I have a monthly gig in Birmingham.
Oh,
and I invite people to come and play, and that's been fantastic. I'm still recording. I've got a few gigs, you know.
Yeah, sure. No, sure. But I wanted to ask you also, you know, one of the records I heard from you in the last few years was the one with John O'Gallagher. With, you know, I love John. He's, you know, he's one of the funniest guys and such a composer and saxophonist. And we did like one tour years ago together, and I loved it. You know, he's a monster player. Like, and how did you guys hook up? I know he did his PhD in the UK. That's how you kind of connected, or?
He was teaching in Birmingham, which is, as I say, 1 hour drive.
Ah, okay. He was also in Birmingham. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was Birmingham Conservatoire, and the promoter, Tony Dudley Evans, said, would you like to play with John O'Gallagher? You know, and I said, yeah, I have to confess, I wasn't completely aware of who John was.
Yeah.
And I said, if he wants to play free, yeah, I'll do it. I didn't know, you know. And he said, oh, yeah, he's happy to do that. And we did a gig. It was only like a 20-minute thing. And I went, what? He started playing. You know, I'm a fast player. And normally, you know, I don't want to, you know, be big-headed, but normally most people don't keep up to what I'm doing. You know, I just do my thing and they go, well, yeah. John O'Gallagher, excuse me, unbelievable. And I thought he's totally outstanding. And not only, he's such a lovely guy. Man, he knows everything about, if I've got any musical questions, I would ask him. He knows everything.
Yeah.
And we did a gig and he said, I would have loved to record what you do. I'd have liked to have seen what you were doing, you know. I said, well, if you do, please tell me what I'm doing, because I have no idea. I would love to know what I'm doing. I said, can you help me? You know, he said, I can't tell you anything. He said, oh, come on, you know. But John O'Gallagher, I'm a huge, huge fan. He's an amazing on all levels.
Yeah, he's such a player.
He can do anything, that guy. He's astonishing.
Yeah.
I think he's leaving. I think he's leaving the UK, I've heard.
Yeah, he's going to Italy now.
It's Italy.
Yeah, he told me he's moving to Italy. So I don't know yet. I think he told me he's going to Italy. So
well, lucky you, because he won't be far away from you, will he? Yes. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Big fan. I love him to death. Fantastic.
So you also on that record you have Mark Sanders on drums. You know.
Yes.
And I listened to one. I think it was an online concert you guys did with Neil Charles and Mark. And
yes.
You and Mark seem to, you know, you did that thing with John, and then you did like with John Irabagon also, and many other projects. Like, and you and Mark seem to have this connection like you had with Tony Levin almost. I feel it when you guys play together. When did you guys start playing more frequently together?
Well, I've known Mark for 40 years.
Yeah.
And he's moved to Birmingham.
Ah, okay.
Mark is another astonishing musician, drummer. He's wonderful. And his enthusiasm to learn is incredible. You know, he's real kind of self-effacing, you know, I want to practice this and I want to practice that. But he is so musical. To play with him is amazing. And we've done many things over the years. And he's in great demand. Loads of people want to play with him, because he does everything, you know. I mean, he's a great drummer, great guy. A very close friend, actually. Very close friend.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I was so happy to find that on YouTube, that trio. Thank you. That like.
Yeah, well, that's the first time I'd met Neil, and the first time I'd ever played with Neil.
Oh wow!
So that's, you know, that was nice. He's a lovely guy, and it all happened. So, because I had this connect, it was Mark who suggested Neil. He said, you know, you should check out Neil. I said, okay. But me and Mark do have a solid.
Yeah.
I mean, I did a bagpipe duo with him. I played bagpipes.
Really?
And he played, and he played percussion, and we've done so many things together. It's amazing.
By the way, how did this bagpipe thing begin with you?
I've always loved bagpipes.
Okay.
Not really the Scottish ones, but the other ones, the sort of Bulgarian and the Northumberland pipes, North England, Billy Pigg, there was a guy, I used to have a record. So I always loved it. But it was like Martian music. I didn't know what this was. But then I met in Danny Thompson's group in 1987, Tony Roberts, a great saxophone player, but he played bagpipes. And he played them to me, and he'd actually got the pipes. And I go, wow. He said, well, why don't you get a set? I thought, yeah, well, why not then? So I got a set of Bulgarian pipes.
Okay.
I had them 3 days, and I did a gig with Evan Parker.
Are you serious? Oh, man. Oh, my God.
No, Evan's doing his circular breathing, and I got these bagpipes, It's like it was beautiful. Great fun. But then I took them seriously, and I started to work on all different French bagpipes, the Northumberland.
Oh, wow.
I had a wonderful set from Iran, actually.
Really?
Really fantastic.
Wow.
They were really incredible. And then I designed a set for myself so I could play 3 notes at once.
Wow.
In fact, I designed one for 4 notes at once. But the maker, and he's a beautiful bagpipe maker, said, I can't make this work. I said, look, forget about it. Just think Stockhausen. Don't start thinking, that you've got to get it all in perfect. I said, I don't care. I will get the sound, make it sound like electronic music, but he wouldn't do it. It's got to be right, man. He's got to, which I respected. But
sure, yeah.
I got the one that played 3 notes, but I haven't been playing them much lately. It got a bit much. I had so many instruments, flutes, clarinets, saxophone.
Yeah.
I just got too much, So the bagpipes took a back seat.
Yeah.
And I sold my baritone saxophone which I play with the London Jazz Composers Orchestra. And I sold that. I thought, oh man, getting on airplanes with that.
Yeah, sure. It's a hassle.
Yeah. But bagpipes, I still love them. To hear a good bagpipe player is fantastic. I love it. Irish bagpipe. By the way, Irish bagpipes are king.
Oh, okay. It's like for the record, right?
For the record, just so everybody knows, Julian Irish pipes, man, that's top of the tree.
Incredible, man. Yeah, beautiful, cool, great, Paul. Thanks for sharing some of this stuff. It's so beautiful to hear you talk. I mean, you have so much.
Okay, well, thank
enthusiasm.
You. Yes, well, I'm an old geezer, but I'm still enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And I still want to get better, and I still want to practice.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks so much.
Dr. Jazz. Dr. Jazz.